Everyone, this is Brian Sa. Thank you for joining today's webinar where we'll be talking about Desk Connect and how to synchronize your data between Desk and Salesforce. So just to introduce myself, once again, my name is Brian Sa. I'm the onboarding and training specialist here at Desk, and really it's my job to create content for customers to learn our product. So if you guys have any feedback, please let us know what we can do to make your onboarding and learning experience with Desk better. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Just a few housekeeping items. Today's training portion of the webinar will last just about 20 minutes and we'll save some time for Q&A at the end. But at any time, if you do have any questions, please feel free to type those into the GoToWebinar questions panel and we'll get those questions answered towards the end. As always, we are recording this session today, so after the training, if you do want to watch the webinar and kind of side-by-side set up your own instance of Desk Connect on Desk and Salesforce, then I'll send out the recording. Also, if you can't stay with us for the entire time, we will also send out the recording as well. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's first begin by talking about what is Desk Connect. Desk Connect is the full bidirectional sync between Desk and Salesforce. Now, by default, out of the box, Desk Connect is going to sync with the three main CRM objects between Desk and Salesforce. And that's meaning the case, the contact, and the account. Now, we did have an old integration with Salesforce that used a custom case object inside Salesforce. And now with Desk Connect, we now use the standard case object in Salesforce. And that's completely out of the box. So now you can take care of all those canned reports that are already set up for you in Salesforce. Now, we don't only sync the case, contact, and account objects, but we also sync your interactions on a case as well. So, for example, if you're reaching out to your customers and your customers are reaching out to you, those interactions are being captured in Desk and we push those interactions to the case in Salesforce. So anyone looking into a case in Salesforce is going to be able to see the complete customer history and all the interactions that you had with the customer. Now, that's great, but why is this important and why do we even want to connect sales and service? Well, there's a couple of main points, and it's about achieving that 360-degree view of a customer. It's really about having a complete view from the customer history to all the interactions the customers had, to even information about a sales opportunity that you've had. So from a sales perspective, we know that your sales team is going to be more effective if they have access to customer service cases. And that's one of the main features of Desk Connect. Just being able to connect your sales team that's living in Salesforce and customer service team that's living in Desk. So for example, your customer service team is creating cases in Desk and syncing cases into Salesforce. And now when your sales team is looking at an opportunity and they're looking at a contact, they're now going to be able to see all the customer service history from that contact. So they'll be able to go into sales and say, hey, I know you've had 7 open cases with us. Looks like we've solved the last 4, and it looks like the last 3 are in development. So ultimately, this is going to make your customers happier, and it's really going to make your customers trust you more as a brand and company. It's going to make your sales team ultimately more effective. Then on the flip side, we know that your service team is going to have a better experience with the customer if they have some sales data coming in as well. Let's say the salesperson can write a note or an internal case comment in Salesforce saying, hey, I talked to the customer and they're a little bit unhappy about this one aspect. So just to let you know before you reach out to customer. Again, so ultimately it's about having that 360-degree view of the customer. So let's go ahead and talk about a few prerequisites that are needed to enable this amazing feature. So the first thing that's needed is that you need to be a Salesforce customer and have a Salesforce Professional Edition or above. Next, in Salesforce, we want to make sure the case priority pick list values have been added, and those are going to be high, medium, and low. The other field in Salesforce that we're going to check is the case status. As a Salesforce administrator, we need to go into setup and make sure that the case priority and case status have the correct values. For case status, it's going to be new, open, pending, resolved, and you may also see close in there as well. Then on the desk side, we want to make sure that you're a desk professional plan or above. And again, that's in addition to being a Salesforce professional plan or above as well. Next is object mapping. Remember that the three standard objects that we map are case, contact, and account. In Desk, we call Salesforce contacts customers. So any customer records that are created in the Desk application using Desk Connect, these will get synced over as your Salesforce contacts. In Desk, we call Salesforce accounts companies. So whenever you create a company in Desk, those will get synced over to Salesforce as accounts. And for contacts, we actually use the email address as the unique identifier and also the phone number to match the contact record in Salesforce. For the account, we just simply use the account name, the exact account name to match the record. Now let's talk about Desk cases to Salesforce cases. We're able to create these and have them under the correct account and contact in Salesforce by editing the layout. We want to make sure in Salesforce that your standard case object is visible within your contact and account layouts. So if you're using an install package integration, which we do offer, you'll notice that these cases are going to sync to a custom object called Desk.com cases. Using Desk Connect, what we do is sync to the native case object that comes with Salesforce. So now you as an administrator can run better reporting in Salesforce and continue to create dashboards. All right, next let's talk about things to consider post-enablement. When we enable Desk Connect, only new cases, customers, and company records that are created or edited in either system will sync over. So if you have any historical data, then all you need to do is, as an agent or administrator, initiate a bulk update in Desk. So you don't necessarily have to change the status or change any other fields, but once you open the case and edit, the system will be able to sync those cases over to Salesforce. One more thing to note about the standard case object is that cases get synced over the native case object. So within the related list in Salesforce, you want to make sure that this case object is visible. If not, then you'll need to contact the Salesforce administrator and actually edit that layout. Now for syncing time. Whenever you make any edits from the Desk.com, or create a case or customer, these updates will instantaneously get synced over to Salesforce. When making changes on the Salesforce side, it takes up to 5 minutes to appear in Desk. Next here, field mapping. What's great about Desk Connect is that we not only give the ability to bidirectionally sync information, but on top of that, you can also map fields. If you have custom fields created in Salesforce, you have the ability to map those over to Desk, so your Desk agents have the ability to see that information. Here are the standard field mappings per object. So when we enable Desk Connect for cases, we'll be able to map the status, priority, subject, and description without any additional setup. For contacts, it'll be the name, title, phone, and email. And for accounts, it's the account name. And these are the standard fields that automatically map over once we enable Desk Connect. If you want to map your custom fields, here are the 4 data types we have the ability to sync with. And these are going to be text, pick list, checkbox, and date. Our next point here is that case numbers are not synced by default. Desk case numbers are different from Salesforce case numbers. So in order for your Salesforce representative to be able to log in and quickly see which desk case is associated with the corresponding Salesforce case, we can achieve this with the custom field mapping. And if you would like more information on creating that workflow, then you can always reach out to our support team to get more information or to walk you through that process. Our last point here is that the Desk Connect integration does not count against the Salesforce API limit. So for those of you administrators that are always conscious about your API limit that comes with your plan, luckily with Desk Connect, you don't have to worry about that at all. All right, so that was a lot of information. We'll go ahead and jump into Desk and Salesforce and walk you through kind of those points that we talked about in terms of the pre and post enablement. So we'll go ahead and jump into the Desk admin. Again, this is the admin console here, and what I'll actually do is I'm going to go to my gear icon here, and then I'll scroll down just a little bit here to see Desk Connect. Now, if you're not seeing Desk Connect here, then what you'll need to do is reach out to support@desk.com, and we'll actually need to have this enabled for you. Once we do that, we'll notify you once it's been enabled, as well as send you some documentation on Desk Connect before you enable this. All right, so I'll go ahead and click on Desk Connect for now. And what you'll see, first of all, is this on and off toggle. Mine's already been turned on, but when you go ahead and turn it from off to on, there'll be a counter that actually counts down, and it'll take maybe a minute or two to actually turn on and sync. But once that is turned on, then you'll see kind of the corresponding fields here. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention that is that when you are enabling Desk Connect, when you're turning it on for the first time, make sure that you're logged in with the desk user that has the highest level of permissions, and that's usually the billing administrator, just because you want those highest level of permissions to make the connection. All right. So once it has been turned on, you'll see these three tabs here under settings here. That'll be company, customer, and case. So we'll just walk through this rather quickly here. So for company, we just want to make sure what these fields are asking is for the company, which is Desk or account in Salesforce, we want to know whether you want the sync turned on or off. So this sync, in terms of syncing Salesforce to Desk, we can go ahead and choose to keep it on. And then the same for syncing companies from Desk to Salesforce, we'll turn those on. And again, some people do like to keep these optional, but I may recommend that we turn this on just initially so that you can see those interactions and the sync going back and forth for your companies. And the same for customers. Again, we have the option to turn on the sync for Salesforce to Desk, as well as Desk to Salesforce. And again, I recommend you turn this on initially. You can choose to turn this off at a later time if you wish. And then lastly here are the actual cases, the case interactions. And then the same thing, Salesforce to Desk and Desk to Salesforce. Now, although you may decide to optionally keep the company and customer syncs off, I definitely recommend that you keep both the case syncs from Salesforce to Desk and Desk to Salesforce on. This is highly recommended for both ways. All right, so once that's all set, we can go ahead and save. And now what we'll do is jump to the Salesforce side. And then let me actually jump to just my settings screen here. So we'll go to settings. And again, I also recommend that you're logged in as the highest level of permissions for your Salesforce instance as well. And what we're going to do now is on the left-hand side, we're going to scroll down to build and then open up customize. And then we're going to go ahead and look for cases here. Another really simple way to do this would be just to search for cases here as well, and it'll take you directly to that link. But let's go ahead and just jump into cases here. All right. And then once we're in cases, we're going to go ahead and go into fields. All right. So now that we're here, we're going to look for, first of all, the priority. So if I scroll down here, I'll go ahead and click into the priority here. And the values that I'm looking for, as we mentioned before, are going to be high, medium, and low. And these are here, so this is perfect. So we're going to go ahead and go back to fields. And the next thing we're going to check is the status. So we'll scroll down just a little bit here, and we see our status field here. And once again, as we mentioned earlier, the values that we want to look for here are new, open, pending, and resolved. And I did mention that you may see closed here, and that's fine as well. So this looks perfect as well. So now that the values for priority and status are there, and we've confirmed that they're in Salesforce. Now, what we actually do want to do is make sure that the case interactions from Desk to Salesforce are showing up in Salesforce. So what we want to do now is go ahead and edit the page layout. So what I'd like to do is I typically just go to a contact, and I'll jump into any actual contact and edit the page layout. A really simple way to get here. And what we want to actually do within here is go to the related list here. So I'll click on that. It'll jump me to the related list. And we need to add the cases here. So mine's already been added, but let me just go ahead and throw it back in here. So when we go to related list, we'll see our cases field here, and we'll know that it hasn't been added because it hasn't been grayed out. It's gray, but it's a darker gray than the other ones that have already been added. So notice that when I click and drag the cases into red list, now it's a little bit more grayed out than the others. All right, so that's perfect. All right, and so we'll go ahead and save that as well. And now what I'll do is I'll do the same for the account. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump into any account here. And there we go. And I'm going to do the same thing over on the right-hand side. I'm going to go to Edit Layout. All right. And then once again, I'll jump to Related List. And again, mine's been added, but let me go ahead and just walk through that once again. Here it is. I'll go ahead and click on it and drag and drop it in. And again, you can actually just click and drag and change the order of the cases if you want to show up before or after, or maybe in the beginning or whatnot. Okay. Then I'll go ahead and save one more time here. And I'll click yes. All right, perfect. So that's all that we need to do on the Salesforce side. Let's jump back over to the desk side, and we'll go over a couple more things here. So we're already in the admin, and we're in the gear icon, which is our settings, and we're in Desk Connect here. What we're going to go to now is field mappings. All right. So here, what we're looking for, so we can take a look at kind of all three of these tabs in sequence here. But what we see under each of these tabs are a category of mappable fields. And if we scroll down just a little bit here, we'll see non-configurable fields. Now, the difference between these two is that just as kind of the title suggests, these are the fields that cannot be configured. These are already set for you. And then the mappable fields are the ones that if you have any custom fields, you can choose which Salesforce fields sync over to your desk fields, and you can select those. Okay, so you can take a look at those, but I'm going to go ahead and jump to, and let me just show you that it looks the same in the customer tab as well. But what we actually want to look at is the Cases tab here in Field Mappings. So I want to just review a couple of things again. So here again, you have the mappable fields as well as the non-configurable fields. But what I wanted to show you is here we talked about the status and priority. So we see that the statuses from Salesforce to Desk are mapped correctly, new to new. Don't worry about the closed one, but resolved to resolved, open, open, pending, pending. Also, you'll notice that in Desk, the priority scale is from 1 to 10, but the Salesforce priority fields are listed as low, medium, and high. The way that Desk Connect handles this is that the values in Desk from 1 to 4 are going to automatically map over to low in Salesforce. 5 to 9 values in Desk are going to map over to medium in Salesforce. And only the priority of 10 in Desk will map over to high in Salesforce. All right, so that looks good. All right. So let's go ahead and just make sure that we do save that. Okay. And again, I mentioned earlier that if you do have any custom fields, so you can map over your Salesforce fields to your custom desk fields, and your custom desk fields will show up in this column here for any of your cases, customers, or companies. All right. One last thing that I did want to kind of walk you guys through is the idea of selective sync. So jumping back here, I'm going to go to my settings. So we talked about these settings for Salesforce to Desk and Desk to Salesforce for your company, customer, and case. And then before we mentioned that company and customer is really going to be optional for you guys, I do recommend that you keep it on. But for cases, let's say that maybe I don't want every single case from Desk to Salesforce to actually sync over. Some people like the ability to actually decide on a case-by-case basis which of these actually get mapped over. And that's where selective sync comes into place. So what we want to do is we want to leave this on, but we're going to add a condition here. So the condition is going to be that, and I've kind of set this up already, but we're going to set up a custom field, and I've named that custom field Sync to Salesforce. And so I said, when this custom field is yes, then and only then will the desk case sync over to Salesforce. So let me actually walk you through on creating the custom field. So I'm already in the admin panel here. I'm going to go to Cases, and then I'll click Cases one more time. And then you'll see that it auto opens to custom fields here. So this is the custom field that I set up here. You would just go ahead and add field and name it as so. But let's go ahead and take a look at the one that I've already set up. So I've named it Sync to Salesforce. The key, again, I recommend just using the actual words and replacing the spaces with underscores as so. And the data type that I created was a list, only because the only two options I want to be available are yes and no. I went ahead and entered the options here by using the plus sign here. We can add yes and no respectively. And then I've set my default value to be the top value, which is going to be no. So I'll go ahead and update that. So once we've done that, we can jump back over to the Desk Connect side here. And again, just reviewing what was done here, we're going to cases and we're deciding which cases get synced over on a case-by-case basis. So again, the condition is when this custom field that I've created, Sync to Salesforce, is yes, then and only then will the case actually sync over. So let's go ahead and I'll go ahead and give that a quick save just to make sure. And let's jump over to the Agent Console, and I'll go to the Next Gen Agent Console here. And let's take a look at what that selective sync option actually looks like. So I'll open up one of our newer cases here. All right. And so this is just a basic email case. And let's see, on the right-hand side under case details, if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see your custom fields. And my custom field here is Sync to Salesforce appears. And you'll notice that the default value was no. And then, so if I decide, hey, this is a case that I do want to sync over to Salesforce, then I can go ahead and select yes. I can reply to the customer as normal. I can update any case details, and I can go ahead and send an update or send update and resolve. And then and only then will this case sync over to Salesforce. So this is a pretty common scenario that we get asked about, so I just wanted to review that with you. All right, so that's the majority of the walkthrough and the training portion of Desk Connect. What we'll go ahead and do is open up the time for some Q&A. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to type those into the GoToWebinar questions panel. And let's go ahead and check if we do have any right now. All right, so one question we have here is it a problem? Is it a problem I also have escalated and on hold in the status field mappings? I would say no. I don't think so because, again, what you can actually do is um, check your field mappings in the settings area of Desk Connect and see what the actual mappings look like. As long as the status is new to new, open, open, pending, pending, and resolve, resolve, as long as those are matching up, that shouldn't be a problem in terms of syncing over. Now, the only situations where you might have issues is on the Salesforce side. If you have, let's say, escalated, you'll have to see what the field mapping in Desk Connect actually looks like, because those fields will most likely actually show up. So it may be that you might have to double up on values for the desk side, but check the field mappings just to see what that looks like. And if you do have any issues with that, or if you have any questions, or if you'd like us to walk you through that on how to actually handle that, I encourage you to contact support@Desk.com. You can either email or phone in, and we can help you with that. So thank you for that question. Once again, if you do have any questions, feel free to type those into the GoToWebinar's questions panel. Looks like that was the only one for now. In the interim, why don't I go ahead and share some resources here with you guys. Let me actually click over here. So we have a lot of great resources to help you guys, not only with your Desk Connect setup, but also with your desk setup in general. Support.desk.com is a great resource with a lot of great articles and how-to articles, as well as our video support center. We have additional webinars in addition to our Desk Connect webinar. We have our agent training as well as our admin setup training. And as always, you can always contact us at support.desk.com. Let me just walk you through our support page, just kind of get you guys a little bit more comfortable. Here, we have support.desk.com. You'll find a lot of articles. You can either browse through the topics that we've set up, or you can simply just search for a term here, and then it'll bring back a list of results. The results here are also separated out by topic, and the results are also a combination of articles and videos. Also, if you hover over help, we have our support articles. We have a link to our video support center. As always, our system status page is going to be really helpful. You can also contact support here, which is just basically an email form. You can use this or just directly email us at support.desk.com. Also, we have our webinars that we mentioned here, our agent training, as well as our admin training. And let me go back. And one last thing I just want to show you was we have our video support center here, but you can also access it via the link right here by clicking on the video support center here. And again, a lot of great videos. These videos consist of videos that are anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes long, or even a half hour long, that are a little bit more in depth. And these showcase some of our webinars that we've featured in the past. All right, so let's check one more time to see if we have any more questions. Looks like we have one more here. Looks like it's maybe a follow-up here. Give me a second to read this. Yeah, so this is a question about, well, let me go ahead and read it. Whenever we merge a customer in Desk, it creates a new contact in Salesforce instead of merging the contact in Salesforce. This also happens when adding an email to a customer in Desk. We have set up conditional sync. Um, so what happens is in Desk when you merge a case or a customer, essentially, well, let me talk about the case. In Desk, when you merge a case, it essentially closes the older case and it moves it to the new case. So in Salesforce, the same thing will happen. You'll see the two cases that's closed and the newer one with all the info from both sides. So this essentially happens in a similar fashion for the context as well. So what you might want to do is if you're not satisfied with that kind of interaction in Salesforce, I recommend maybe contacting support to see if they have any workarounds or any suggestions for this one specifically. Again, and I'll also follow up with you on after the meeting as well, offline, just to kind of follow up about this as well. Thank you for that question. All right, so we're just a little bit over time, so it looks like we don't have any other questions. So I'll go ahead and wrap up today's session here. Thank you everyone for joining, and we will send the recording so that you guys can have it as a tool and reference. But again, I thank you everyone for attending, and have a great day. Bye, everyone.